All right, so for today's deep dive, we are opening up, well, one of the big ones, Vladimir Nabokov's 1955 novel, Lolita.
Definitely one of the big ones.
Yeah, and we should say it's incredibly complex, very sensitive in material, but navigating this strictly through the lens of critical analysis, looking at its history and literary impact.
Exactly. Our mission here is to uh, kind of unpack the core story, look at the absolute firestorm of its reception, and get into the literary tools, especially unreliable narration, that make it so endlessly debated.
And the publication history alone tells you so much. It was written in English, but he first published it in Paris, France in 1955.
Right, through Olympia Press.
Yeah, small independent press,
Yeah.
because he was just, expecting massive censorship in the United States. And that fear, as we'll see, it was completely justified.
So the core story, it's deeply unsettling. The narrator is Humbert Humbert, a French literature professor, and he details his obsession with and victimization of a 12-year-old girl, Dolores Hayes. And crucially, he invents this clinical-sounding term for her nymphet to sort of classify and objectify her through the entire book.
That calculation is it's chilling. To get access to her, he marries her mother, Charlotte, for one reason and one reason only.
To become her stepfather.
Exactly, which then allows him to carry out this pattern of abuse and kidnapping. And you have to remember, the whole novel is framed as his memoir.
Written for a jury, no less.
Right. His desperate self-justification to a jury. So from the very first page, you have this incredibly fraught, uneasy relationship with the narrator.
And that self-justification is what led to this huge debate over how to classify the book. Some early readers called it an erotic novel.
Which Nabokov himself hated.
Oh, he despised it. He and, most later critics argued that the book's real power is in its literary style, its irony, its deep sarcasm. Nabokov famously called Humbert not some romantic figure, but a vain and cruel wretch.
A vain and cruel wretch. And if Nabokov said the strength was irony and sarcasm, that points us right to the central device here. The whole novel is narrated by Humbert, and he just bombards the reader with this incredible wordplay, puns, this flamboyant style. But it's not just for decoration, is it? It's a kind of smokescreen.
It's absolutely a weapon. It's designed to seduce the reader, maybe even into a kind of complicity. And critics are near universal on this. Humbert is a profoundly unreliable narrator.
Right.
Which means that Dolores, who he calls Lola, Dolly, she's basically silenced. She has no real voice. Her entire reality is filtered through her abuser's perspective.
And this leads to that really devastating insight that the novel is really a study in psychological tyranny, in cruelty. And it's all driven by Humbert's intense incuriosity.
Yes, incuriosity.
Can we unpack that idea? It's fascinating.
Well, he is so exquisitely sensitive, but only to his own pain, his own desires. He has zero curiosity about the feelings or the humanity of Dolores or even her mother.
He just doesn't see them as people.
Not at all. He sees objects or maybe obstacles, and that intense focus on himself, that tyranny of the self, is the tragic engine of the entire book.
Wow. That complexity, it just explains the wild, contradictory early reception. The acclaimed author Graham Greene called it one of the best books of 1955.
At the same time.
At the same time, an editor famously called it the filthiest book I have ever read.
And that led to real-world consequences. It was seized by British customs. It was banned in France for 2 years. It was notorious from day one.
So if we pull all these threads together, Nabokov kind of embeds his own condemnation right there in the victim's name.
He does. Her real name, Dolores, is the Spanish word for sorrow, for anguish.
So he's forcing you to see the contrast.
Constantly. The contrast between the painful reality of Dolores and Humbert's seductive, airy, almost magical creation, Lolita.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us today? Because the term Lolita, I mean, it's been completely absorbed into pop culture.
It's everywhere.
And it's used to describe a young girl who is, quote, precociously seductive. It's used almost entirely without the original literary context of victimization, of cruelty and tyranny that the book is actually exploring.
Exactly. The whole point gets lost.
So, here's a final thought for you to consider. How much of Nabokov's profound, really complex literary condemnation is lost when we just reduce his work to a simple piece of cultural shorthand?